Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shweta, and I head the business development for our media entertainment vertical across Asia Pacific at AWS. I've been with AWS for over 4 years now and have the privilege of working very closely with our media customers and partners in the region. Last year in September, we started this video series called Media Moguls, where we started to discuss some of the key media industry trends and share stories of innovation. And in the first two episodes, we focused on media companies in India and heard from the business and the technology leaders who joined the conversation, heard some great perspectives and insights into what some of the latest trends are, both on the national level as well as regional level. And we also discussed some of the challenges faced by them. And whenever we talk about transformation and the challenges associated with it, it is impossible for us to not talk about our technology partners who are playing such a pivotal role in driving all those innovative and transformative projects for our customers. And therefore, in this episode, we decided to focus on our partner ecosystem. And we are going to kick it off with a one-to-one chat with co-founder and Chief Revenue Officer of Amagi, Srini. Srini, a very warm welcome to you and thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So for those of you who may not know Amagi, Amagi pioneered the concept of cloud-based channel playout and changed the whole broadcasting space in a big way. So Srini, let's go back in time for a bit and talk about Amagi's initial years, where you folks started out identifying some problems in the industry, some challenges. What were some of the problems you were trying to solve? And please also share with us briefly how along the way Amagi has listened in to the changing market needs and the dynamics and really pivoted to develop a whole new set of solutions.
Sure. Always happy to talk about our history and how we got started, Shweta. Thank you. We actually started in 2008. It seems like a long time now, 14 years. We started off actually as a geo-targeted ad network for television in India. When we started, we saw this big gap in the industry, right? TV as a media was pretty much absent in terms of local advertising, especially in the Hindi heartland, right? You see print, radio, outdoor, all of them being dominant media for any sort of local advertising. And you hardly had, if you're an advertiser, you hardly had any option to advertise on television if you're targeting a local region, let's say UP or Delhi or Punjab, for example, on television. So if I'm an advertiser, let's say I'm advertising, Santur, and my target is only Maharashtra, for example. If I want to do that, I could potentially do some Marathi channels, but there was a substantial audience that were watching Hindi. I could never reach them, for instance. Or if I'm Unilever trying to advertise Cornetto, right, and Delhi is my single biggest market, I really did not have a chance to really target only Delhi because all the channels in Delhi were all pan-India channels. And really, there wasn't a television option for me to go by Delhi only. So I had to go buy a Star Plus or a ZTV nationally and hope that a percentage of that spend hopefully reaches the right audience. And that was very, very expensive. So we saw this massive gap in terms of what the advertisers needed. And two, on the other side, broadcasters, the media companies were also missing out on this massive opportunity. This obviously was a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, which, the print media, the Times of India's and the Hindustan Times of the world were, really making merry out of, right? On the radio, the local radio and outdoor. But TV hardly had, any sort of advertising share in terms of, whether local advertisers, local regional retail advertiser, an automobile dealer in Lucknow trying to advertise within Lucknow, or some of these national brands trying to target a specific market. So we thought, hey, can we actually come in and actually, help solve this problem, fill this gap? So what we ended up doing was pretty much creating a new industry vertical called geo-targeted television advertising. Essentially allowing the same TV channel to have different ads in different markets. So let's say you're watching at 9 p.m. during an ad break. Let's say you're watching an ad break on ZTV. If you're in Mumbai, you will see Santur. In Delhi, you will see Cornetto. In Bengal, you might see a Sunlight ad. In Punjab, you might see a Pepsi ad, right? So exactly at the same time on the same channel, different viewers will see different ads. So that means that for the broadcasters, they could multiply the number of ads they could show at the same time, hopefully showing a significant increase in their revenues. For advertisers, it became much more efficient way of advertising targeting. So essentially creating efficiency in the industry and helping both parties, the broadcasters and the advertisers. That's how we got started. Worked with tens of channels, including the likes of Colors and ZTV and NDTV and Times Now and so on and so forth. Eventually grew to be a fairly large geo-targeted ad network, obviously the largest in India. And the interesting part was we actually started this in 2008. We started this on AWS, even before cloud was a thing, right? So the entire media management, ad management, and distribution to across 4,000 plus cable headends across India was all done from AWS. So pretty much, brought up in AWS, so to say. So that was the journey that we actually started off with. But along the way, when we started working with more and more broadcasters, some of these broadcasters came to us and said, hey, this is fantastic. Whatever you guys are doing, being able to split advertising time and insert local ads in different markets is great. But I have a need not only to do local advertising within India, but maybe I want to change my content because I don't have rights for a specific sports content in Malaysia, or I want to do local advertising in Middle East on my Indian feed. So we started seeing need from many of the broadcasters to use the same tech, but for different use cases in terms of being able to leverage it for local content insertions, local ad insertions in international markets, covering up maybe ads and replacing them with promos because of regulation, whatever combination thereof, right? So over time, we saw more and more customers or content owners and broadcasters coming to us and asking, saying, hey, can I use this tech for maybe a 30-second ad replacement to a 30-minute content replacement to maybe can I even run the entire channel on the cloud? Can I just replace the entire channel and create maybe multiple versions of the channel for different markets? So again, we saw this as a fantastic opportunity for many of these broadcasters which are struggling with capacity issues of having to have only fixed number of X channels and trying to use the same channel globally, where they had content rights issues, they had local regulation that they had to comply with, they wanted to localize the content for local audience, they wanted to have different local ads and so on and so forth. We saw a fantastic opportunity to build everything on the cloud, help them move their entire broadcast workflows to the cloud, where they can scale up much better at a much lower cost and much faster. And today we are, just from a background perspective, today we work with, I believe we run one of the largest cloud playouts globally, if not the largest cloud playouts with 1,000 plus channels running on the cloud. Work across 500 plus media brands globally, including some of the largest global brands. And I've been growing in triple digits for the last few years. So it's been a fantastic, and I believe we are the fastest growing media tech SaaS company globally today.
Yeah, it's been so fantastic to see all that growth, and really such a privilege to work with you folks. And you talked about scalability, to be able to function at scale at a lower cost for broadcasters, and also the ability to expand global footprint, right? I also want to talk about the agility aspect of it and the flexibility, by being able to basically use, when you're using a cloud-based playout system, you are in a position to test a new market. You can spin up and spin down channels at will, and with very little cost, basically you can run these experiments. So it has been such amazing experience to be partners with you, as you actually truly bring that agility, which is one of the core benefits of the pay-as-you-go model of the cloud that AWS offers to our customers. Right. So amazing. And thank you for sharing that journey. And I'd also like our audience to understand the role that Amagi is playing today, along with AWS, if I may say, in evangelizing the use of public cloud infrastructure to run broadcast operations, which are considered, mission critical workloads for any broadcaster. There is zero tolerance for any downtime, which in fact also explains the resistance that you see sometimes in the conversations. So, how have you been addressing these concerns? And if I may just call it, some kind of skepticism that still might exist in at least some parts of the world. So maybe also share an example with us, Srini, where the conversation started as using a Amagi cloud solution for only as a backup for broadcasting. And actually, during the conversation, when your customer agreed and saw the value in making it their primary playout solution.
Absolutely. Excellent point, Shweta. Ultimately, the benefit of cloud, AWS and cloud, public cloud in general, is the fact that, as you pointed out, one can run a lot of experiments. I mean, I think if you had to ask any broadcaster, maybe 10 years back, they will tell you, I have my next 5-year plan. I know exactly, I'm just going to increase my distribution. I'm going to increase my advertising. I'm going to get better content. The technology was fairly stable, right? So life was fairly much more straightforward. Now, if you ask anyone, any content owner, you have no idea what's going to happen in 5 years. Technology is changing so dramatically. The consumer behavior is changing so dramatically. The way we consume, which devices we consume, the type of content that we consume, how we consume them, how we interact with the content, pretty much every single thing is changing and changing so fast. So I think the benefit of cloud is to be able to experiment, try out a whole bunch of things, whether in terms of the type of content, the kind of storytelling that I can actually do, what works, what does not work, which sort of audience would actually listen to me, what sort of devices, what sort of platform should I go to. Pretty much there are tons and tons of experiments that many of our content partners are doing on a day-to-day basis, learning from that and creating this really fast feedback loop for them to learn faster and actually eventually get to the right solution for them, right? That'll actually maximize their revenue potential. So I think cloud it's a great way to do this. And cloud also allows you to, as you pointed out, allows you to scale really, really fast. Once you've found what model works, what sort of content works, you might want to do not just one. I mean, there are customers of ours that are actually launching 50 to 100 channels in a matter of couple of months. This used to take a year plus for a traditional broadcaster to launch a new channel, right? We're talking about customers coming and saying, hey, I want to launch this 50 channels on OTT. How can I get that done in less than 2 months, right? So, and as you rightly pointed out, Shweta, when we started off, 6-7 years doing this whole cloud play out, cloud was really not a 5-letter word. It was actually a 4-letter word for most broadcasters saying, hey, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to even go near that. I don't know about whether it's reliable, whether it is secure, will it actually, can it replicate my experience and so on and so forth. What we have seen is a dramatic shift in terms of attitudes, in terms of comfort with public cloud. If you look at some of our largest customers, take examples like NBC Universal, one of the largest, Comcast, NBC Universal, one of the largest media companies globally. They ran their Olympics channel with us during the last Tokyo 2020 Olympics on the cloud, right? This is one of the most prestigious events that actually they believe they trusted public cloud to actually run, right? So we are starting to see, we run a number of, as an example, in India, we work with Discovery Eurosport, where the entire automation is completely running on cloud. This runs everything from cricket matches to some of the most popular, most expensive sports programs out there in the world, right? Whether it's general entertainment, whether it's news, whether it's sports, we are running so many news channels today, mission critical news channels today, that it'd be unbelievable to think of this running on the cloud even 3 years back. I think what has changed fundamentally, 2 or 3 things. One, with some of these pioneers, we have been able to prove that public cloud can replicate your on-prem experience in terms of reliability, in terms of user experience, operator experience, in terms of how well you can actually do that remotely, especially given the pandemic, right? How we can actually manage this across multiple teams, first and foremost. 2, I think cloud has also demonstrated the value of being able to turn around and actually, do stuff much faster with fewer resources, and in a much more cost-effective way in general. And to your earlier point, Shweta, we have seen two types of conversations when some of these, I would say, reluctant customers that actually are thinking about cloud, that actually start off with. One is, hey, can I use this just as a backup, just in case my on-prem goes away? I mean, or for whatever reason, there is a fire, there's an earthquake, there's a tsunami, or maybe just, the whole facility has to be shut down because of COVID, right? I couldn't enter the facility. Can I actually use cloud as a backup, just in case, right? So allows me to try it at a low cost. So again, cloud is a fantastic example there where you can spin up the entire playout, entire channel only when needed. Otherwise, you're not spending a lot of money. You're spending extremely low, minimum amount of money, just keeping the content on the cloud and spinning up your real resources only when needed. So acts as a great disaster recovery option. So a lot of customers test waters, dip their toes, if you will, with a disaster recovery. A classic example that comes to mind is A&E Networks in the UK. When they were looking at the cloud option, they said, hey, I have my existing on-prem based service provider that is actually running cloud, that is running playout. And I want to look at maybe, there is a problem with them. If there is a problem that actually happens with them, in this case, actually, their service provider went bankrupt. Their on-prem service provider went bankrupt. And they saw that coming and they said, hey, I want to have a disaster recovery option, backup option on the cloud, just in case something happens. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, within 2 months of, when they started, actually, we had the whole thing up and running on the cloud. Within 2.5 months, their current service, at that point, their service provider went bankrupt, and they had to shift their entire VR instantaneously to the cloud and move us as primary, and worked very, very seamlessly. So within 10 weeks, they could run. This is about 30 channels, 30,000 hours, going to 50 operators across. 30,000 hours of content going to 50 operators, massive, and with 9 different languages, subtitles, local subtitles, local languages, local ads being inserted by different partners in different countries within Europe. So pretty much across all of Europe, they were able to move that lock, stock, and barrel in 10 weeks. I mean, if you go back and ask them now, I mean, one of the things that they keep telling us is this was the best ever decision that we ever made. I mean, thank God that we actually moved to the cloud, because even with COVID, when COVID happened, we just didn't even have to bat an eyelid. It just worked. We didn't have to worry about any on-prem issues, right? So that's one example that comes to mind. The second example I have actually also seen is a number of content broadcasters dip their toes on the digital side, saying, "Hey, let me create an OTT channel. Let me create something for my digital platform. Maybe I'll try it. It's a low cost, low risk option there. Let me try that out." And a number of our customers that start off on the digital side quickly transition to, hey, I want to unify all my operations, run both broadcast and OTT on the cloud. An example that comes to mind is maybe Fremantle in the US, right? These guys are running a fairly large broadcast network, reaching about 50 million of US audience, 50 plus million of US audience. And they also had their OTT channel. So they started off with this on the OTT side, creating an OTT channel called Buzzer. Within a couple of months, they moved from their current service, 4 months, they moved from their at that point of time, current service provider, then service provider, to Amagi to unify their entire operations, run out of a single platform. So classic examples of how customers take intermediate steps to get to the cloud.
Thank you for sharing. And you know what, I think I remember seeing the case study that clearly called out that the A&E network migration that you folks did, it is actually a record time for any broadcaster to migrate their entire payout solution within, I think, total 30 days, which was such a big, I would say, outcome and very, very significant for them. And such a great story for us to tell as well as your partners. And you mentioned about the COVID impact, right? So the pandemic, I think, and the situations arising out of that really, I think, played a role in moving forward some of the conversations that were stagnant for maybe last couple of years, before COVID hit. So definitely, I think the broadcasters are seeing the value and the changes that they've made. We also believe, and I'm sure Amagi also believes, that these are the changes that are going to stick Even when things return to normal, the new normal, as we call it, these are the changes in outlook as well that are going to stick. And you talked about opportunities, and I think it's a good segue to talk about the fast segment or the free ad supported television segment. Something that is rapidly growing. Just when we thought that maybe linear television is going to be dead, not so soon in India, but yeah, I mean, we seem to be moving in that direction. But now we see this connected TV segment coming up, which is such a huge opportunity for so many content owners, and not just like tier one and mainstream content owners, but also some niche and regional and local content owners and distributors. Tell us something about that vast opportunity and the solutions that you folks are building.
Sure, Shweta. I mean, for those of you that do not know Fast is free ad supported streaming TV. That essentially, if you were to summarize what Fast is, it is content that you can watch on your smart TV or on your mobile. Just that the experience is similar to a traditional linear TV. You have an EPG that you actually click through. You can just lean back, start flipping through channels one by one, and you'll actually see a regular channel coming in, completely free, and is fully supported by ads. So if you're buying a Samsung TV set or an LG TV set, you will see apps on those, native apps on those. For example, Samsung has an app called Samsung TV Plus. LG has an app called LG Channels, right? So similarly, most of the TV sets, the smart TV or the connected TV sets, you will see an app. You click on that app, you'll see a whole bunch of channels, tens of channels, in some cases, hundreds of channels that you'll actually see. All of them completely free. You just flip through them, start watching them like a regular TV. So this has been a comparatively a newer phenomenon, like that happened over the last 3 or 4 years, pioneered by likes of Pluto in the US, which is now part of Viacom CBS, has become a huge phenomenon. I mean, just last year we saw billions of hours of viewing happening on Fast across these connected TVs and mobile sets. And we have seen hundreds of channels, fresh channels that did not exist earlier, being launched on this Fast platform. We now have close to about 65 Fast platforms globally. That is across these smart TV manufacturers who have their native apps, across telcos that are launching their own apps, across companies like NBC Peacock launching, or a Sling TV launching, right? So across these content companies launching their own apps, as well as new age app providers like Plutos of the world coming in. So provides you a way, if you're a content owner, provides you a way to reach a massive audience, whether it's in India or globally, reach a massive audience with pretty much no cost of distribution, so to say, right? It's not like a traditional cable operator that you have to pay a carriage fee to actually have your content carried, right? So you can actually, put it out there and actually have it carried on, hopefully on Samsung TV Plus or something like that, or a Roku or somebody like that. There is no marketing cost because the platform is marketing it for you. You don't need to go, get an app created, developed, market it and actually have the user download it. It's actually available as part of the smart TV or the phone by default. So there is no marketing cost. There is no development cost. You don't need to develop apps and support them and so on and so forth. So it provides a very, very low cost way for content owners that have great stories to tell to reach an audience, as we have seen with Squid Games, as we have seen with Matchmaking India, I forget the exact name, right? Indian Matchmaking, right? And such shows like those in Netflix. We see that content travels very well internationally. If you have a great story to tell, there is a massive audience. In fact, I was recently reading up a statistic that said, hey, Netflix last year, the non-English watching has grown by 50% just in the US. Right? So we are seeing a massive increase, massive appetite from audience for global content. So if you're a content owner that has a great story to tell, Fast or this free ad supported streaming TV is a great way to reach both Indian audience as well as international audience. An extremely low cost. You can experiment with tons and tons of different content and monetize it completely through advertising. What Amagi does is essentially bridging these, right? Bridging content owners that have great stories or great content with the platforms, the Fast platforms that have the distribution, that have the audience eyeballs, if you will. creating a way for them to take this content, deliver it to these, make money through dynamic targeted advertising, individually personalized advertising, and share the revenue back with the content owner. So I believe this is a massive today. I mean, last year, CTV advertising was about $11.5 billion globally, right? And Asia Pacific is the fastest growing CTV market globally in terms of number of CTVs being sold. So given that, and especially I was recently reading a report about CTV and viewing in India, I mean, massive growth in terms of average of about 1 to 4 hours being spent by urban youth. Again, great demographics. The people started off with mobile first, moving to CTV in a big way, especially the urban youth starting to watch a lot more content on connected TVs and smart TVs. And FAST provides you a great way to reach them and make your content go that extra mile and earn extra revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. Great opportunity. And if I may point out, especially for content like live sports, and not just like tier 1 sports, but like local sports, regional sports, state level matches, anything that's live format, and even news, which is generally preferred to be watched in a linear format, right? I mean, entertainment, I guess everybody prefers to watch at their own pace in a VOD format, but sports and news, definitely, I believe they have a huge opportunity to reach out to many more audiences through this connected TV segment. And of course, you talked about the ability to do geo-targeted and also the personalized advertisements and dynamic ad insertion, like product brand placement within the content, and many such opportunities to monetize. Amazing opportunity, and I can see that this is going to be a much talked about topic this year among our customers. Also, there've been already so many inquiries, and we've been, of course, working with you folks on those. As we wrap, I think we are going to be running out of time soon. I do want to hear from you. Because you watch the industry so closely, you're watching all the trends. So if you can share with me, say 1 or 2 trends, maybe fast is one of them, like what are the top 2 trends that you are close on and you guys at Amagi building next?
The growth of connected TVs, for sure, that's happening in a really, really big way. And personalization of content, where content is not only targeted to the right people, but the content itself can be personalized to every individual based on their likes and their viewing behavior, are 2 big things. And this provides fantastic opportunity for content owners that are building deep fan audience, that have niche specific content that can be delivered. Now, the distribution is dramatically democratized. It's no longer limited to a limited type of cable and satellite. You can pretty much reach any audience on TV if you have the right story to tell. And the technologies like ourselves, technologists and technologies provided by companies like ourselves, provide you a great way to create that personalized viewer experience on television and deliver the right content to the right audience, and hopefully get the right advertiser as well.
Okay, so those are the 2 top trends for you, but also share with us. I know that you guys like to keep things under wraps, but what are you building next? Anything exciting that's coming?
You will see some really, really big announcements coming in this year, which we believe, again, obviously I'm biased, but we believe will be fundamentally industry-changing products that will allow personalization of content in a very, very different way than we have seen. So hopefully, in the next couple of quarters, you should see some big announcements coming from us, Shweta. So it's a massive internal effort that's going on.
Really looking forward to that, Srini. And it's so wonderful to see all that Amagi is doing to bring all this agility and many more opportunities. And very importantly, also, today we did not talk about sustainability, but I guess you folks are doing so much on that, helping broadcasters become more sustainable in their operations. So thank you again for your time today and sharing all those insights with us. I wish Team Amagi many more successes in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. I mean, AWS have been great partners with us, and look forward to a really successful partnership going forward as well.